AITA for how I told my neighbor to stop being a busybody. I live next to this guy William and his wife and daughters. He's a total busybody. I swear he's watching and commenting on everything I do. If I have friends over, he'll watch from the porch and out the windows. He'll comment later on how many people I have over, how late I have them over, etc. Like complaining I had a party of 7 over till 1 am. If my grass gets too long, he'll comment on how I need to spend a day a week mowing. I can't keep going out 3 nights in a row. If there are cars parked in the street, he'll know which ones are friends there to see me. I know he knows because he goes right to mine and asks me to have my friends move their cars. If I barbecue, he'll complain about the smoke smells, and how nobody needs to be barbecuing for 3 hours. Overall, I can tell by the stuff he says that he's watching me and my house way more than anyone has any right to. Knowing when I'm there or not, who's there with me, how long, etc. I've never noticed stuff like that about my neighbors. I mind my business. Anyway, it's kind of uncomfortable. I've tried to be accommodating. Okay, I'll move the cars. Okay, I'll be done barbecuing soon. I've also tried to ask for more privacy in the weirder conversations. My friends and I don't really like it when someone's watching our comings and goings. Would you drop this? But I'm getting pretty bothered by it. So this time, when he mentioned I need to move my trash cans inside sooner after the garbage truck comes, I told him off. I said I want you to know, I really don't like being watched like this. It bothers me. He acted confused. I said, look, I'm a woman living alone and it's kind of unsettling. He acted confused still, and kind of defensive. I said, you're a father of 2 daughters. Think about if they came to you and said that a man they didn't know or like was watching to see when they're home or not, which of the other girls are their little friends, remembering which bikes their little friends ride and recognizing them on sight, watching when they're out in the yard, and what they're doing there. Think of how you'd feel. He got upset at what I said and was saying that's different. I was like, it's not different. That's how I feel. I'm asking you to empathize here, to understand how it feels to be watched 24/7 and not be okay with it. How that seems to have made you feel is exactly how I feel. After that argument, he stormed off and has seemed to leave me alone for a few days. But I'm wondering if I crossed a line. What I said seemed to make him really angry, but I didn't know how else to get him to understand. AITA here, edited to add a bit of conversation I forgot. NTA. He's angry because he knows he was being inappropriately nosy, and he didn't expect you to call him on it. Other than asking your friends not to park right in front of his house, none of this is his business, and you should simply remind him of that fact from now on if he starts complaining. NTA at all, kudos to you for standing up for yourself. If he starts again with the commentary on your activities, you might say something like, as I've already informed you, it's none of your business, then repeat as needed. NTA, dude needs to mind his business. He's a bored do-nothing jerk and you're his pet project. F him. Barbecue for 5 hours, leave the trash out, don't move the cars, have 10 people over till 3 am, and maybe build a really high privacy fence. Also, who complains about the smell of barbecue? What a jackass. Stop wondering. You didn't cross the line. Your approach was spot on and hopefully he'll change his ways. He certainly won't stop watching, but perhaps he'll keep his remarks to himself. Your NTA. NTA, my boyfriend has told me that being considered a creep is one of the worst, most cutting sorts of insults a man can receive. So, he probably did just take a bullet to the gut, but it was one he absolutely deserved. You were amazingly restrained, IMO. Absolutely not op NTA. If this persists, get the police involved if you need to. That crap is terrifying. Hopefully you talked some sense into him with the daughter analogy, good example by the way, and he backs off. Absolutely NTA. He got upset BC. He realized he was being a creep, and now he's avoiding you BC. He knows you were right. I understand why you think you were harsh, but it was necessary. Don't beat yourself up, NTA. Edit. I think she did the right thing. I meant to imply I understood why she would post here, that this is not some kind of validation post. I'm not saying she was too harsh. I really missed the no validation posts rule. NTA, of course he's upset. You pointed out weird and creepy behavior in a way he couldn't dismiss. Although he attempted, honestly it sounds like you needed to find a way to be direct, find a way for him to actually listen. Do you have other neighbors? Does he do it to them too? NTA, I'm surprised you didn't tell him to F off much earlier. NTA by any means. Guy sounds like a creep. Greater than and how nobody needs to be barbecuing for 3 hours. This man doesn't know how to barbecue. NTA. NTA, what a creep. You were actually nice, getting him to see it from that perspective. You could have been much more forceful to put him in his place. NTA. This guy is a complete asshole. People like him are nothing but trouble. If I were you, I'd have nothing to do with him. NTA, you told him exactly what he needed to hear, and if it happens again or if he makes you uncomfortable in any other way after this, I'd go straight to making a formal complaint with the authorities, in order to begin establishing a history of behavior. NTA, good for you for giving this guy a lesson on boundaries. What he's doing is creepy. NTA, I bet he didn't realize just how creepy he was being, and you pointing it out made her feel ashamed. That is on him. I am the mom of 2 daughters and I am trying my best to teach them that they don't have to be polite to the point of risking their safety. You were right to call him out. That was seriously creepy behavior. Info, I'm wondering about the things you mentioned. Do your friends block his driveway? Are your late night parties loud? Do your friends make a lot of noise when leaving? How long are your garbage cans out? Are they close to where he drives? Is your grass super long and an eyesore? It's possible he's just a busybody. But it's also possible that your parties wake him up and he looks out the window to see what's happening. I've had a neighbor use a smoker all day, and at the time I could tell you about how long it had been on for because the smoke stunk and I couldn't open the windows. I can tell you which neighbors leave their cans out all week because I drive down the street and see them. It's not on purpose. But when you see the same things every day or week, you do notice similarities. When the same neighbor is doing all those things, then you do tend to notice when they do something else that bugs you. I think that he probably shouldn't have mentioned so many things to you. Part of being a good neighbor is letting some things go. But part of being a good neighbor is being courteous of how your actions affect everyone else, and I'm not sure that you're doing that. I really dislike that the no validation posts rule was removed. This allows for these types of posts where clearly they are not the asshole but for some reason are seeking validation anyways. Why would telling a nosy neighbor to pound sand be an asshole move? It would be an asshole move if you were super aggressive and got physical or something, sure. But to just tell him, rather politely, I might add, to leave you alone isn't an asshole thing at all. I liked that the mod's remove message stated that it was removed because they were clearly not the asshole, and I think that that is going to always be the best thing. The OP gets to know their judgment and the sub stays higher quality. I'd take less content but high quality rather than more content with less quality. I feel like most would. NTA, in the words of Karen Kilgariff and Georgia Hardstark, fuck politeness, he was being a creepy, invasive, busybody. You do not owe him the benefit of being nice. NTA, that's just weird and super nosy of him. I wouldn't have waited as long to say something. NTA, from here on out when he starts that kind of stuff, remind him you are not his kid and it's not his business. NTA, good for you, unless it's an emergency or you're being obnoxious with friends and disturbing everyone around you. Neighbors should mind their own business. Good job standing your ground. NTA, and the way you explained your feelings about this was perfect. I had an across the street neighbor that was like this. I moved. NTA, there's a big difference between looking out for your neighbors and doing so while telling them what they should and shouldn't do. Most neighbors around us will watch out for each other if we happen to be outside or whatnot, and we'll check on things from our own property. However, acting like there's an HOA and he's the president is quite overbearing and, in all honesty, creepy no matter which way you slice it. YTA for making this validation post. Info: when you have your friends over till late, or at all, are you loud or disturbing? You're obviously not the asshole. Why haven't the mods deleted this? NTA, he needs to mind his own business. Like you said, he may not have any intention of being a creep, but he is coming off as creepy. NTA, you were not harsh at all. The way you stated your feelings was not harsh at all. You did nothing wrong, he did. You called him out on his behavior and he did not expect it or like it. You have a right to not feel or be watched 24/7 by a man you do not know. You have a right to feel safe and comfortable in your own home. Using a strange man watching his daughters as an example was not out of line. You shouldn't have had to use that example. He should have just left it alone after the first time you said leave me alone, but it was not out of line. His reaction to that shows that he was not expecting to be called out, and he at least somewhat knows that his actions are creepy and out of line. If he starts up again, see if you can call a non-emergency line with the police and tell them what is going on. NTA, you asked politely once, he didn't take the hint and continued being a creep, so you put it in a manner which he could understand. NTA, absolutely justified in saying all that, and more. To him. I want you to know that you need to not apologize for standing up for yourself. Everyone needs to do this, but women especially. Stop apologizing when a man makes you feel uncomfortable. He's a weirdo. NTA. NTA, his angry response is embarrassment from being called out and shock from bring his daughters into it. Saying you shouldn't be going out 3 nights in a row is just creepy and not his busyness. NTA, but I'm going to go on the hopeful limb and say maybe he's been keeping an unintentional eye on you because you are a single woman, like he's trying to protect you if possible. Either way, I think this is extremely creepy and he's probably avoiding you. BC, he didn't think about it from your perspective and was too embarrassed that what he's doing is stalkery and that he'd be pissed if it was happening to one of his daughters. YTA for making the validation post. NTA, I'd swear I was your other neighbor, but maybe William's a type, like Karen. Lived next to a dude for a few years who was like this and tried every reasonable way to get him out of my business. By engaging, by apologizing, by ignoring. No chance. If I had friends over, comments about the friends. If I didn't, comments on me being antisocial. Dude just had zero boundaries. I don't think he meant to offend, but it was still extremely awkward to keep telling him he was bothering me and to have that completely ignored. Good on you for putting your foot down, and hopefully the analogy with the daughters does mean he will stop. NTA, I think you handled this situation wonderfully and diplomatically. I live in a small town where it's hard not to notice your neighbors' comings and goings or general drama, but we all try our best to walk that line between watching out for each other while allowing for privacy. I've had to get a little huffy with a few neighbors only a few times over the years when it comes to boundaries. Here is an idea for you. I have a newly moved-in next-door neighbor who tends to be on the nosy side. Every time I go outside, he comes in my yard asking what I'm doing. He also once questioned my children for details when my ex moved out, etc. Our homes border each other, so it was annoying and hard to avoid. One day, I was installing a cheap video monitoring system for my home. Unrelated. Have special needs teens needing extra supervision, and I installed a camera outside pointing at my door and driveway. His house is in the same direction as my driveway. Of course, he came out to ask if I was installing a light or something. I said, no, it's a camera. He got quiet and left. It's been pretty quiet ever since. An unintended positive consequence, I guess. This may be extreme, but maybe try putting a fake camera on your house within view of his house. Maybe he'll get the point and feel what it's like. I would also respond to any further queries from him with, "I'm sorry, that's really none of your business," and walk away. Don't be afraid to uphold your boundaries. NTA, you were respectful and got the point across without being a douche. Hopefully it sticks, though that is sketchy behavior. I hope you have good friends between you and him. NTA. Invite the pagan motorcycle gang over for a barbecue a few weekends. Flanders will get the point. Edit. NTA. NTA. You don't need a negative running commentary in your life from someone that has no business giving it. His actions were creepy and annoying, and you gotta hit someone like this pretty hard with a clue by 4 before they get it. NTA. You could have been way harsher and still been reasonable. Him will continue to stand up for yourself. He needs to mind his business. The analogy you gave him was spot on. Maybe now he'll see how creepy and inappropriate he's being. This seems to be a thing when you're a single woman homeowner. There's always that neighbor that feels he has the right to monitor your life and you are obligated to listen to him. I've had neighbors like that and I just ignore them altogether until they get the message. What's up with these stupid effing validation posts? Like, oh my god, this man touched me without my consent and I responded by pushing him away. AITA, stfu. NTA, and do not feel bad about telling him off. Most men are pretty unaware how their behavior affects others, and this one needed to be checked. Sure, maybe he's mad. Boo-hoo. He'll get over it. Your safety is a higher priority than his desire to be able to monitor you. NTA dude's AF head. NTA. You made your point beautifully. If he's huffy about it, it's because he knows he's in the wrong. NTA, if he starts his S again, tell him you'll file a restraining order. NTA, it is creepy. NTA, he crossed the line. YTA for seeking clear validation when you're clearly NTA. NTA, people always get angry and defensive when they are forced to contextualize their behavior in the "what if it was done to me, done to people I care about" way. It's why assholes on here get super testy sometimes when you bring up the fact that, regardless of their rationalizations, there are real people who have been hurt by their actions. And number X200B, neighbors can be busybodies without being full-out assholes. like just kind of annoying but not malicious. But he's actively being obstinate and argumentative about the fact that he's harassing you constantly, and he's doing it frequently enough that it inhibits your quality of life far more than your barbecue or whatever inhibits his. It's weird you feel bad for being honest and standing up for yourself. NTA. NTA. He's a creep. Document everything, dates, times, what was said or happened, and if his nosy ways continue, seek legal advice or go to the police. He has no right whatsoever to take such liberties with you. NTA, and your response to him was perfect. NTA. He seems creepy and nosy as hell. I would have told him off much sooner. NTA whatsoever. I am proud you finally said something. That is super creepy. Info. Have you tried actually paying attention to his complaints and evaluate if they have any merit? Do you know if he has had problems with any other neighbors, or is it just you? I have a feeling he has no problem with you going out and being young, but if you are the only one in your neighborhood that lets their yard get too long, or if you are taking up the whole block with your friends' cars, or having very late, loud parties, 1 a.m. is past the time most municipalities set noise ordinances, that isn't being a good neighbor. It's possible he isn't constantly watching you, but that your behavior is out of norm for the neighborhood and it is hard not to notice. I can totally understand your point of view, too, that being watched all the time in your own home is extremely uncomfortable. It probably feels like you can't really be in your own space. I would just think about it, though, to see if there are legitimate issues he is bringing up, or if it is him trying to be controlling. NTA. Not even close. He made you feel uncomfortable and you did what you had to do to stop him from doing that. NTA. We had a guy like this in neighborhood where we used to live. He was a single divorcee in his 50s. He knew everything about everybody in the neighborhood. I don't understand the satisfaction people derive from that. Jesus Christ, just watch a movie. Read a book. I guarantee it'll be more entertaining the humdrum minutiae of your neighbor's day-to-day movements. NTA. You told a creep who was being creepy to stop being a goddamn creep. NTA. He was confused because he thought he was doing the right thing by taking care of you, etc. He doesn't think he's a creep, so it never occurred to him that someone would find him creepy. Hopefully what you said got through to him. Bright side. If anyone ever breaks into your home, he'll call the cops and be an excellent witness. This is the most validation post I've seen on here, clearly NTA, but come on, you know you're not the asshole, you know it well and truly. NTA. You have to put him in his place and set your boundaries. I have a Gladys Kravitz in my neighborhood, although he's not quite as bad as your neighbor. You have to be able to tell him to mind his own business. He's crossed the line. You've been kind and you've agreed to way more than I would have. Who cares how long your barbecue goes for? That's your business. I do appreciate that my neighbors are aware of what's going on, and when something on our street is out of place or give me a heads up. It is nobody's business but your own how many people you had over and for how long. Wow, what a pest. I would tell him to kick sand. Might be an unpopular opinion and I can't quite decide on a judgment, but some of the things you described remind me of how my ASD son behaves. Sometimes we have to gently remind him that not everyone finds the things he does or says appropriate. Just a thought. Info. How noisy are your guests at 1 a.m.? Are cars parked in the street blocking his driveway, in front of his house so people are climbing out of cars onto his lawn, or causing traffic issues? How often do you mow your lawn and are there neighborhood standards you're ignoring? How long are you leaving your trash cans out? Basically, is he stalking you, or are you disturbing his day-to-day life by being a messy, inconsiderate neighbor? The uniformly NTA answers are surprising to me based on the YTA judgment on the lady recently asking if she was TA for getting pissy at a neighbor for pointing out she's disturbing the neighborhood with parties, bikes all over, a messy lawn, etc. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to hear more of the best posts.